Hi, I'm Catherine Goshen, a professional astrologer from the village of Nyack in New York State, and I'm passionate about in-depth astrology and getting to the heart of the matter. In this video, I'd like to talk about the astrology for August 2021, and I'd like to focus on the sun and rising signs for all 12 of you while I go through the forecast, just to mix it up, to make it more interesting for all of us, and to see if we can blend the general astrological sky and apply it to each of the 12 energies. So I'm going to get a little bit into archetypes as we go through today, and we'll try to tie all these interesting threads together. And just before we get going, I'd like to tell you about midheavenmagazine.com. It's a new digital magazine for astrologers and those of you that want to up your astrology level and read a really educational and helpful publication. We've just launched the first issue at the summer solstice. So I invite you to check that out online at midheavenmagazine.com and to support us by purchasing our first issue. So let's get started on the astrology. So August gets underway with a very exciting T-square. We have the Sun in Leo, and it's opposed by Saturn in Aquarius, and this is squared by Uranus in Taurus. So what does this mean? Well, for all of us, that's a big dose of energy on that day. But in particular for Leo and Leo risings, let's think about you. Your archetype is the boss or the hero or the leader. And as August gets underway, we know that the sun is in your sign. This is your month. It's your birth month when you are meant to feel most in your element. Also, Mercury is traveling through Leo in the early part of the month. So your mindset is very much aligned with your fiery leadership archetype. And you may be seeing things from your own perspective. So we have Sun and Mercury in Leo. You have a vision, you have an idea, you have a stance on things, and you think that this is the way, this is right, and you wish to lead with this. You wish to move forward. And what happens in that early part of August, Saturn comes along. And this acts like someone putting the brakes on. And this is coming from the area of your chart that rules relationships or the public at large. And then you also have another energy, which is a volatile energy, the energy of Uranus, coming from your house of career. So this means that in the early part of August, some of you lions are going to feel as if your ideas, your way of seeing the world is being opposed. And there is a lot of friction coming from outside, especially from people that you are in close relationship to. And the watchword would be how to try to see things from another person's perspective. How to step into their shoes and understand that things can be done in another way, not only your way. So I invite you to try that out, Leo. And you're going to feel a shift as the month progresses because you're going to get a lot of action in your house of resources. So this means that August could be a good time for you to earn some money and to put your mind to getting everything in order. The other big change that we'll all experience as August gets underway is the shift of Mars from Leo, where it's been very hot and fiery, stirring things up during July. And Mars is now going to move into the cold and earthy sign of Virgo. So my Virgo friends, Virgo rising, Virgo suns, you will immediately feel that shift as August gets underway. And there will be a call to action because Mars, the action planet, is entering that area of your chart, which is asking you to galvanize, to deal with your identity. Often it can bring a renewal of health and getting healthier, and a call to exercise more and to really look around you in terms of your own place in this world, the space you want to occupy, what you put out there to the world, and to begin to work on that. Then a few days into August, around the 11th, so always give or take a day on either side because of your time zone. Around the 11th of August, there is a lovely shift for you. Your ruling planet will move into the sign where it's most comfortable, where it has its home, into Virgo. And this is going to bring your action, Mars, and your mindset, Mercury, into alignment. So they will now be traveling together. And there should be a really positive shift for you, feeling more confident, getting on with things, and putting July behind you where there was a lot of confusion. Then around the 18th and 19th of August, those two planets are going to hook up really closely together, Mercury and Mars. So that is a beautiful couple of days to plan a concentrated activity. It can be an activity or a project which requires a lot of detail, and get going on that around those 2 days in August. Make them work for you. And you will then be on the home stretch before your birthday. So also recall that when the sun is traveling through that area of your chart 30 days approximately before your birthday, it can be a time of deep reflection. And it's meant to be, because as the sun comes into Virgo, your whole chart is illuminated by this divine intelligence, and we get to begin again. Then on August 8th, we've got a beautiful new moon in the sign of Leo. And we're going to have the moon, the sun, and Mercury all in fiery Leo being squared by Uranus. So for all of us, let's unpack that and think about what this new moon chart can bring for us. When Uranus connects to the moon, we can feel extra anticipation, excitability. Sometimes we're sleepless and so on. Now, the moon is in the sign of Leo. So Leo likes to have its voice heard, and it likes to be acknowledged. For all of us, we will have to watch those quick emotions and maybe practice just a little bit of humility over this time. So the sun is also in Leo, and it's also being contacted by this maverick energy. And that's inviting usually quick changes of plans, surprise visits, all those kind of unusual things that come out of the blue. And once again, it would be a wonderful opportunity to harness the intention of the new moon, because the new moon is always a time when we begin again and when we are asked to set our intentions. So how can we use that Leo energy and that boost from Uranus, which is also causing some friction there, to spur us on to the next thing? Can we move forward with that in a way that is allowing us to shine, to have fun, to be playful, all those things that Leo stands for, but at the same time to not let our ego run away with us? Now, Libra friends, suns, Libra risings, interesting time for you because early part of July was very much about friends, having a great time, connecting with people. And then 3/4 of the way through July, there was a shift and there were some challenges, and you turned a little bit more inward and were working more on your own stuff. And as August begins, this energy is still there for the first 2 weeks, where there is something that you need to process on your own, and you're not really ready to talk about it with anyone. You're also dealing with some health issues, not necessarily serious, but small things that you wish to improve, you wish to maintain, you wish to get healed. And this is a good time to work on that. Put your energy into your health and into this quiet processing. And then around the 16th or the 17th of August, you're going to feel a big shift and a nice boost when your ruling planet Venus is going to move into your sign, Libra. And the Venus archetype is very much the diplomat and the lover, the one that wants to make overtures and to bring harmony into any kind of a social situation. So from around the 17th, that's going to increase for you, and you'll start to be more in your element. The niggling health issues are hopefully going to clear up around this time. There is a sense, Libra, that you need to move forward with things now, and time is running out for you. You know, you're very good sometimes at procrastinating and putting things on hold, but you'll feel that in that second part of August, you really need to galvanize yourself and start to get things on track. For all of us, I'm thinking back to that new moon on August 8th, because just after that new moon, we're going to have Venus touching Neptune. So for Libras in particular, but for all of us, the 8th or 9th of August are a very opportune time to get creative, whether that's musically or artistically or in the kitchen. These kind of measurements favor creativity, and I invite you to make use of that time. Don't get caught up in anything that is nefarious though. Scorpio Sun and Scorpio Rising, you've had a very active last couple of months. For the whole of July, you had action in your house of career or what you choose to do. Even if you're on holiday, say you're in college, you may have been putting yourself out there for sporting events. If you're working, you've been very much in the public eye. And there's a notable shift as August gets underway for you, Scorpio, because things are a little bit easier suddenly. There's like a pressure off you. You know, you have been really putting yourself to the grindstone for a long while now. As August gets underway, there's the sense that you can kick back a little and relax with friends, go away, maybe in a group, get together with people, some rewards coming in from your work, more social time. So enjoy that period, Scorpio. The other thing that is very noticeable about August is that there's something going on in your major relationship. Things seem to be very intense in that area of your chart, and there's some backwards and forwards going on with how the relationship is conducted. Perhaps you're on and off with someone, or just when you seem to get close to somebody, they're pulling back, or vice versa. Maybe it's you that's pulling back. So an interesting time to take note of that, especially around the middle of the month. And finally, Scorpios, the full moon, which is going to take place on August 22nd, is a very opportune time for you to do something incredible. You've got a flow of energy coming in from the Maverick planet, which likes to mix things up. But it's also very, very good for mental activity and for getting things done, which you may have been ignoring for a while. So set your sights to that. So let's talk a little bit more generally about that full moon on August 22nd. For all of us, it's a full moon in Aquarius, and it's the second full moon in Aquarius. I have spoken about that in my July-August video that I made, which is a little more detailed for those of you that enjoy the astrological jargon. The first full moon was at 1 degree of Aquarius, and the second full moon is at 29 degrees of Aquarius. This is a very powerful degree where all the symbolism of Aquarius comes into focus. And we are asked to open ourselves to humanitarian efforts, to group endeavors, and to helping one another in whichever way we see fit. Bear in mind that Aquarius is not a water sign. It is an air sign. So water is feeling, air is the intellect. And with a full moon in Aquarius, especially a second full moon, we are being asked by the cosmos to really tune into this intellectual energy where we can help others using common sense, using the resources of the mind, not thinking about helping people, but actually putting new ideas into action. And we see this because there's a very strong aspect from Mars to the moon at this time, where we can all be asked to follow through with our convictions and to actually act out on them in a way that we help others. And the other thing about this full moon is that the moon will be very close to Jupiter, our beautiful, enormous, greater benefic Jupiter that has just dipped back into Aquarius. And Jupiter will be there with the moon, once again amplifying this Aquarius energy. So for those of you that have birthdays near the end of Aquarius, this is a powerful time for you. Something can come to fulfillment which you may have been working on for a long time. And for all of us, we can really learn something from this double dose of Aquarius energy, which is flowing from the end of July through to the end of August. Sagittarius friends and rising signs. It's a very interesting time for you because you've been kicking back a little. Things were going really well. There was a bonus, some money coming in, something nice was happening, and there was some relaxation. You were looking forward to some time at home, or something was becoming easier for you. And then all of a sudden, since late July, things have reverted back for you into an area of your chart where you are once again very busy in your neighborhood or with work, which has to do with communications. It could be to do with schools. It could be to do with siblings. It could be to do with day-to-day commute. But whatever it is, there's now this focus and this sense that you've gone back to something that you thought you'd kind of thrown to the wind. So Sagittarians, Sun and Rising, don't worry. This is a necessary period for you to finish off things that you started earlier in the year. Make your peace with it, relax. Next year is going to be so much easier, starting from the end of December. But for now, you're kind of back in this flow and you just need to accept it. Sometimes things happen like this because we wish for things to be otherwise than they are. We wish for an easier time. We wish for things to be less intense, and yet things just keep coming. So I really invite you to welcome in this kind of resurgence of commuting, of however it's impacting your personal chart, and to simply relax into that. Things will change. Let's now talk a little bit about Aquarius suns and Aquarius risings. You have had an enormous amount of action going on in July, and this is stirring you up. It's propelled you. I'm even wondering if many of you have moved home or are planning to move, because there is a lot of activity in that area of your chart now, propelling you forward. Make a change. You don't want to wait another 10 years before you get going. So Aquarius risings in particular, a good time to move, a good time to move far and to just make your peace with a big upheaval. So you're still busy with a lot of self-development. You're still busy with reworking and reforming your own identity. And that's an ongoing process for a while yet. You will feel a lot of good energy because of this double full moon that we're having, one in July, one in August, in your sign. And these moons are going to bring to light a lot of things that will be that final factor in helping you to make the big change that you know is necessary and that you know is going to be really good for you in the long run. Capricorn, sun and rising. August is really a wonderful time for you to take a holiday. Don't worry about finances. I know there's a lot of activity in that area of your charts at the moment, and you may be concerned because some things are coming up again which you thought you'd already said goodbye to. They need to be dealt with, but it's fine to take that break. It's fine to take that holiday. Overseas travel is favored, and just somehow getting beyond the confines of your home, of your state, of your country, or even just your village or town. It's really necessary because there's been a lot of transformational processes happening in the last while. And a break can be as good as anything to help you to rejuvenate and to ground yourself. For those of you who are born in the late part of the Capricorn cycle, you are going through a lot of deep change at the moment. So value that and balance it by getting away and doing something for yourself. The full moon on the 22nd is going to very much highlight this house of resources for you. So some things that have been that came to light in that first full moon in Aquarius at the end of July are going to be revisited now on August 22nd, and something will be completed. Perhaps it's an estate that you're wrapping up. Perhaps it's a job offer that you're finalizing. But no matter what it is, that is a good full moon for you to wrap up something in your financial sector, and you will know what that is. Pisces, suns and rising. You have a lot of small routine tasks to take care of over the early part of August. And while this may not sound super exciting, I think you are welcoming in this new era where you realize that things are very much changed for you compared to how they were in the early part of the year. And you're being given this opportunity now as August gets underway to make progress in an area of your life where you need to impose order. Small issues, especially to do with health or organizational things, are favored. In other words, to be tackled. Get your desk in order, get your health in order, and deal with that stuff now while the planets are favoring it. There's also going to be an enormous emphasis and energy coming into your house of relationships. So I invite you, if you are looking for somebody or if you are in the process of starting a new relationship, to put energy into that, because the energy is available if you choose to use it. You also need to deal with things that you ignored or did not want to deal with in the first part of the year from January to May. Those things are going to come up now again to be healed, to be spoken about, to be discussed, to be finalized. And you have all the way until December to do that. And and these are things to do with contracts, to do with signing papers, to do with how you are conducting your business as well. So if you have loose ends to tie up, you may not feel like doing it in August, but if you put your mind to it, you're really going to be helped. We know that your archetype is the teacher, sometimes the spiritual teacher, and in order that you can fully actualize this archetype for yourself, Pisces, it is so important that you learn also to order yourself in the material world. And when those two come more into alignment, there's going to be a meeting of the ways, which will help you to begin 2022 with a very powerful success signature. Aries Sun and Aries Rising, we've come to you. You're not first today, but that's fine, because there's been such a change taking place in you lately that I sense that you're finally beginning to understand what it is to be a warrior, because your archetype is the warrior. In modern times, we may call it the athlete, and your archetype could also be the healer. So many of you are in the process of that transformation from pure warrior to warrior healer. And the month of August is going to give you an opportune time to focus on healing. Your day-to-day routine, perhaps you can loosen it up a little bit so that there are times where you are simply allowing yourself to take care of your own health and your own being. There's going to be a lot of routine stuff to get through, and we want to see you in a situation where you are not too bogged down by constant comings and goings so that you get off track, because you're in a process of winding up a 3 or 4 year enormous transformation in your work sector. You have 1 or 2 more years to go, and it's not time to kick back now. It's time to push forward. And as you push forward, there can be strain in certain areas of your life. So you want to take it easy, but at the same time, a lot of routine stuff will need to be taken care of. So I invite you to look to that. I know you're trying to revolutionize your finances at this time. You're looking for new avenues and new ways to bring money in. And all this new stuff and expansion at work, it requires a lot of time and energy. So use August. You know, July was extremely active for you with Mars in a fiery sign of Leo, giving you energy. You're also a fire sign. And as August gets underway, Mars moves into Virgo and helps you to cool things down a bit and to really focus on the nitty-gritties and those tasks which you may not love to do, but which really need to be done. Taurus, the early part of August from the 1st until the 16th, is a very harmonious time for you, a good time for creative projects, a wonderful time to kick back and spend time with your children, to go on holiday, all those wonderful things. So really, I'm wishing you well during this time. You've had so much change going on, so this is really a good time to use those 2 weeks to relax. Do it consciously. Just around the middle of the month as well, there's going to be a real sense of a pause in your life. I know you've been dealing with a lot of change, identity change, and you will have this opportunity to reflect on that. And I invite you to consciously be still a few days around the middle of the month and to take that time to process everything that's happened in the last 2 to 3 years. It's enormous and it's not over yet. So after the 16th, there's going to be a slight shift for you, and then you'll be getting back a little bit more into mundane issues. So dealing with health, going to the doctor, the dentist for all those routine visits, and possibly going back to the office. Or if you're living in the southern hemisphere, you might be working throughout August. It's winter there, and it's the cooler months at least. So you will certainly be asked to get back into the saddle, even if you did have a little bit of opportunity to kick back in the early part of August. The other interesting thing for you, Taurus, is that these 2 full moons in Aquarius will be taking place in your solar 10th house, which is where your career is and your public standing. So there might be a lot of activity, whether it's overt or covert, at work. Possibly the first full moon in Aquarius in late July will signal some kind of change. And then the second one around the 22nd of August is going to really bring whatever was going on at work or going on in your public status. You know, this can also refer to our status, such as being a married or unmarried person, being a citizen of a state. So these could be things that are in the spotlight too. And they will become very prominent after that second full moon in August. But I invite you to use the early part of the month to relax as much as possible. Dear Gemini friends and Gemini rising, your archetype is the trickster or the messenger, the communicator, and you've had a lot of things slowed down in the way you communicate, and the flow of information has been very halted. A confusing time for May and June 2021. Then in July, things suddenly, about the second week of July, things suddenly started to clear. You began to feel like you had a little bit more of a routine after a really topsy-turvy kind of early part of the year. And as August gets underway, there's an emphasis on your house of communication. You need to really see people, talk to them, clear the air, get the deals done. And if you're a musician, there's a lot of music to be written and performed. If you're a writer, there's a lot of work to be done. So use that early part of August to orientate yourself to all the communication that is still outstanding and any kickbacks you may have, especially from May and June, where it was just, there was so much chaos going on that you weren't clear of how you were moving forward in your life. Now, the second part of August will bring extreme clarity, and there's an opportunity to travel. So I invite you to do that if you are able. There is also an opportunity possibly to get together in a spiritual way with others in a group, to have some kind of philosophical gathering that feeds your soul. That's also very much favored for the second part of August. Yet the most positive thing for you is that from mid-August onward, you're going to feel clearer, as if suddenly all that fog from the last few months is lifting and you know what to do. There's a strong emphasis in your home as well. Looks like there's a new energy come in, a new life, a new visitor, possibly your kids are home from college. Whatever's happened, there's a new energy in the home, and I see you gathered with that person, and I see you knowing the way forward and being very prepared for whatever is to come as September gets underway. So Gemini, yes, it's been a long haul, especially since 2020, and especially for those of you involved with running your own businesses. But clarity is coming, and any time from mid to late August will be a fine time to sign those contracts and to start afresh. And finally, Cancer, such a nurturing archetype. You are the caregiver, the one who is able to enfold, encapsulate, and to give of yourself to nourish others, but only if you already have something of your own and your strong shell is in place. So you've just had a birthday, and I hope that your solar year is getting off to a good start, Cancer. So much of the previous few years have seen an enormous amount of change, and some of it traumatic, but we are now entering a period where that is winding down. And August sees you dealing very much with siblings or writing. That third house of your chart is highly active. So open your heart to family and do the writing that you're doing. It all seems to be going well. The other thing of importance for you, Cancer, this August is that your ruling planet, the moon, is going to be involved in this full moon in Aquarius, the second one of the month. And this is all taking place in your solar house, which has to deal with the resources of others. So if you are dependent on anyone in any way for finances or for anything, this is going to be highlighted for you both at the end of July and at the end of August. What will come to light about the financial situation or the resources of your partner or of those with whom you are tied together, either through marriage or through other familial connections or through business. So I invite you to be astute in your judgments, and it's a good time to possibly redo or reformulate contracts that you have that are with business partners in dealing with finances. I invite you to look into that at this time. And for all of us, that second full moon in Aquarius is really the last major aspect that is of importance in August. Around 9 hours after the full moon, the sun will switch signs and exit Leo and ingress into Virgo. And we'll all feel a slight downshift in energy where we're moving from an active fire to a more passive earth sign. And the rest of the month of August seems to unfold very peacefully. with not too much going on, giving us time to absorb and to work on everything that has come to light over the past month or so. So I invite you to enjoy August, to relax. Remember that this forecast is not inclusive of everything. I can only mention a few things as I go through the month, whatever is coming to me now. And I invite you to explore, listen to other forecasts. You may want to listen to my July-August video, the second part of it, where I deal purely with the planetary patterns of August. And I wish you well until next time.